Good morning, one and all. Today we will discuss the guidelines of the Ethics Committee of Research. Whenever we say ethics and it is most important thing in the research. So before we could start, we wanted to make some quotes regarding ethics. To be or not to be? That is the question. The ethics word derived from the Greek word ethos, which means the custom or character. It is an understanding of the nature of conflicts arising from the moral imperatives and how best we may deal with them. In this context, I would like to explain, whenever we do research, we must take care of the moral component of the research. Though the research is a scientific one, but the moral component is very important. So in these issues, Dr. Shivaswarup has defined ethics as a set of norms practiced in the society for a peaceful coexistence of different sections of society. Since the ancient times, the ethics is followed to have balance between I and we. So ethics is a study of a good conduct, character, and motives, which is concerned with determining what is good or valuable for all the people. If we see the history, the ethics started in the way back 19th century, when the Nazi doctors conducted series of extremely cruel experiments on prisoners. They made the prisoners freezing to the hypothermia to see how the temperature reduces and how the system functions inside. These are some of the very bad experiments which were conducted during the Nazi time. In India too, the uterine cervical dysplasia to malignancy was conducted by the Indian Council of Medical Research during 76 and 88 and allocated 1158 women with varying degrees of cervical dysplasia to long-term follow-up for the development of carcinoma in situ. It was defined as the end point of the treatment. So these are some of the examples of unethical practices in medical science. Usually, whatever we are conducting the research is based on the principles of human rights, freedom and equality. Examples of the bioethics or medical ethics and business ethics. So in the ancient times, The good clinical practice is an international ethical and scientific quality standards for designing, conducting, recording and reporting trials that involve the participation of human subject. One needs to adhere to the local as well as international guidelines. Whenever we are conducting the research on the human subject, we consider the healthy adults, including the investigator or elderly person. On the contrary, sick adults, terminally ill patients, the peoples living in highly controlled situations like prisoners or soldiers or students, children below 12 years of age, mentally retarded persons, unborn fetuses. These population is called as a vulnerable population. So whenever we are conducting the research on the vulnerable population, we must take care they are not harmed, their human rights are protected, they are safe. In view of this, whenever the proposal comes for the ethical review, we have to categorize the research proposals into three. These are less than minimal risk, and more than minimal risk. When we say the minimal risk, where there is either no human participants or there is no intervention or any treatment to them. When the minimal risk, it might be some of the questionnaire, some of the interviews. So these categorized under minimal risk. But whenever there is an intervention or the treatment to the participants, it goes in the more than minimal risk. And for this, full ethical review is important. So in that way, we have to categorize the various levels. So the levels of risk, many times these ethical committees are nomenclatured as in the various components. Like some are called institutional review board, some are called institutional ethical committee or independent ethics committee. In the minimal risk, there is a safeguard, usually less risk to the human participants. Examples: individual or group behavior that involves no manipulation of the subject and it is not stressful. Maybe research on the perception, cognition, motivation, identity, language, etc. When the greater than the minimal risk, there might be stress, pain, injury, or even death. In the ethics committee, there is a panel of experts selected from the various specialized field. Minimum 7 members should be there, and they are sufficiently qualified through the experience and expertise. I already explained about the vulnerable population, maybe the children, pregnant women, mentally disabled persons. So these are the very vulnerable population which has to be taken care very in a proper and safe way. So these are some of the things which we would like to discuss. In the next session, we can see the higher component of the ethics committee. I hope you have enjoyed the sessions. Thank you so much for your listening to my discussion. Thank you.